first, let's discuss reform. Can they be taken seriously? 020 7862 2222 is the number. Nigel Farage's party kicked off its conference season in eye-catching style in Birmingham with a performance by the Greater Lincolnshire Mayor, Dame Andrea Jenkyns.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac. Staring at the ceiling, waiting for my phone to switch off. Yes, I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac. And all I can hear is the sound of that clock.
It's amazing. We haven't seen that. That puts Theresa May's dancing absolutely in the shade. I don't want to be rude about it. She can sing.
She can sing.
And she wrote that song, which is brilliant.
She explains it.
I think it says. She said she was singing about insomnia because Labour are giving her sleepless nights. And it wasn't the only moment from the Reform Conference that caused a stir for one reason or another. There's all kinds of other stuff that went on with a sort of rogue cardiologist and then promises for this and that. And what do you think, Marina? Do you think, looking at the Reform Conference, it was a bit of a shower?
OK, so reform do need to be taken seriously because if you look back in history, tyrants like Mussolini, Trump, they were the punchline once upon a time. And they then came to power because they cut through with this sort of nonsense that, it entertains people, it cuts through. And so they've got platforms, let's be honest, every show, every press, every paper, every radio phone-in can't help themselves. Everyone just loves a bit of reform, which is a problem in itself. But should they be taken seriously? Yes, not as a solution, but as a threat. And I genuinely think, this is a guy who sort of cloaks himself in patriotism. This guy flew out to the US, spoke at a US committee, and he essentially urged the US to put sanctions on his own country. Sanctions that would hurt British businesses, British people, our back pockets. And this guy is your patriot?
Well, let's just have a look. So let's go through some of the things that we saw that came out of the Reform Conference and see what we think. And we were imagining, what would it be like if you sort of created a comic book that was headed Reform UK, We're Having a Party? Because what does the party want us to say in reaction to what went on at their conference? Are they expecting us to be surprised? Are they expecting us to see this as a kind of silly comic strip that entertains us? Are they expecting us to be shocked? What's it all about? So if we open the pages here we go. Let's look at some of the scenes from the Reform Conference. Here's the doctor. A controversial cardiologist quoted an expert saying the King's cancer might have been triggered by the COVID vaccine. Let's have a listen to this guy.
That the COVID vaccines have been a significant factor in the cancer of members of the royal family.
Right. This, as a lot of people said, this is crazy. So crazy, Reform had to say this. We weren't expecting him to say that. Then move on. Here we got Lucy Connolly out of jail. She had called for mass deportation and urged her followers on X to set fire to hotels housing asylum seekers. She was then released from prison after her sentence. Listen to the reaction.
I'd really love to use my experience to work with, hopefully, Reform in the future.
There we go. She got an amazing reaction, Lucy Connolly. So that's the doctor. We've talked about Lucy. What else was there? Oh, yeah, this was a classic where Andrea Jenkyns, who you just saw singing her song, sang the national anthem, but she sang God Save the Queen instead of God Save the King. She was leading the singing. Oh, the Taliban and Afghanistan. Have a listen to this.
Women that arrive by boat will be deported immediately.
To Afghanistan?
Yes, if necessary.
You will send women back to Afghanistan, just on the record.
I'm really sorry. We have a massive crisis in this country.
OK.
That's Sky News. There's quite a lot. There's a boats clip as well. There's a cartoon. I mean, there's a lot. Do we take it seriously, this stuff? So on the boats, there was quite a bold pledge from Farage to stop them in no time at all.
Stop the boats within 2 weeks of winning government.
So do you see that as a kind of comic strip? Do you see it as silly or serious?
So I remember when Rishi Sunak said he would stop the boats. I remember thinking at the time, I mean, how on earth is he going to do that? That seems like a kind of essentially just a populist cry. And I think Nigel Farage is doing the same thing. I think I don't think he has a clue how he's going to do it.
I was going to mention, Kwasi, later he was then pushed to clarify exactly what he meant by the BBC's Laura Koonsberg.
As soon as the law is in place, as soon as you have the ability to detain and deport, you'll stop it in 2 weeks.
But to be clear about what you're promising the public, you're saying 2 weeks after you passed a law,
of course,
which might take many, many months.
Well, we want to do it as quickly as we possibly can.
But just to be clear with people watching this, your promise, therefore, would be not if you get into power that you would stop the boats within 2 weeks. It's that after you passed legislation, which might take a long time to go through Parliament, you think
well,
it would
number
take
one,
a
let's hope
fortnight
it
to
doesn't
happen.
take a long time, but within 2 weeks of passing legislation, we will stop this. Absolutely.
Right, and it's that people then saying, aha, even reform have to do politics in the same way as other people.
Well, look, he can't. He's not a dictator. Even if he becomes prime minister, he's going to have to.
Trump has done it. Trump did it from day one.
Well, Trump. I mean, he said he'd solve Ukraine on day one, and he didn't.
Yeah, but Trump got these ICE agents.
Because
and
he's
all
a
that.
president and he can sign executive orders. A prime minister in this country has to get legislation through the House of Commons. You go through the House of Commons, and then it goes to the House of Lords. There is not a single reform peer in the House of Lords at the moment. So you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to amend whatever legislation it is. It's going to take months, and he's not going to be able to deliver within 2 weeks what he said he would.
Let's ask, I was going to say our own Ann Widdecombe, but I mean reform spokesperson Ann Widdecombe, I should say, about this thing. We all thought he was going to turn them around on day one, Anne, and it turns out we've got to wait for, what, years maybe?
No, certainly not years. I mean, as Kwasi well knows, you can do emergency legislation. And you can run Parliament all night. We used to do all-night sittings in long gone days, but I remember them. And it is perfectly possible to get legislation through more quickly than the norm. That is the first thing. Secondly, of course, the message will go out on day one. And the crucial thing is that there is a deterrent. We will be saying simply, if you come to this country from a safe third country, which is what France is, then your claim for asylum will be refused automatically. Meanwhile, you're going to be detained. And then finally, at the end of that, you'll be deported. That is a deterrent message. At the moment, the message that goes out, and no government appears to get on top of this. At the moment, the message goes out, come to Britain, and you're very unlikely to be removed.
OK. How can we take your party seriously when you have on stage a cardiologist, a very controversial cardiologist, who says the King's cancer was caused by the COVID vaccine?
Well, first of all, it's quite impossible to say what the King's cancer was caused by. And we were not expecting him to say that. What we actually wanted to hear from him, and which up until that moment he had given us, was a gathering together of the various pieces of research that have been done on the effects of the vaccine. That was all that it was meant to be. Now, no conference controls every last sentence that its speakers utter, other than the spokesmen themselves, who usually have to give in their speeches. You can't control. No, come on, you can't.
I'm sorry, but you know that guy's CV. He has been off on the wing of all the COVID stuff for years now. He's a vaccine skeptic, if not an anti-vaxxer.
Well, he may be a vaccine skeptic, but what we were asking him to do was to put together the evidence for what he was saying. And that, I thought, right up until that moment, when he made that comment about the royal family, and I did wince when I heard it, but right up until that moment, that was what he was doing. Now, you know, you ask any party to say that their conferences always go smoothly and there's never anything nasty. We all remember the Theresa May conference when there was that ridiculous dance followed by a huge backdrop actually falling off, followed by somebody getting on the stage and giving her a piece.
Let me bring in Marina.
It go wrong.
I understand. Let me bring in Marina.
I just think that's hardly comparable. No, your party is a real threat, and I feel like what you are doing with this boat situation is it's smoke and mirrors, because it's all anyone will talk about at the moment. When actually, if you dig deep, and I implore people to dig deep, look at reforms policies. There's nothing in there for working people. In fact, they vote against. Every single Reform MP voted against workers' rights, the bill, coincidentally, that Angela Rayner pushed through. Now,
But it
now
looks
how
like
on
Labour
earth,
are gonna-
how
are
on
gonna abandon
earth,
it.
how
I
on
don't know why
earth are you for the working people when you're bankrolled by billionaires? And how are you for women, by the way, when your leader is stood next to Andrew Tate, is stood next to Conor McGregor, who lost a civil rape case, who loves Trump, and we know his reputation with women. How can you say you're the party of women as well?
Anne.
Well, the party certainly does have a very large number of women. We had women.
Answer that question.
May I finish?
Yeah, let her.
We had women on stage, and we had Andrea Jenkyns, we had Nadine Dorries, we had women speakers. We do appeal to women as well, I know, because I was actually there, and I suspect that Kwasi and Marina were not. And I was going
Conor McGregor, Trump.
I was going out amongst the delegates and talking to them. And not only were a very large number of women, but some of them did say to me, that we were the hope for the future.
Right. But the Andrew Tate thing, Ann Widdecombe, come on. Andrew Tate is a misogynist who has even embraced violence against women and done it explicitly. What are you doing going anywhere near him?
Well, I wouldn't want to go anywhere near him. But the point I'm making is that reform does have an appeal to women. And reform, I believe, is the answer. I wouldn't have joined it if I didn't believe it was the answer.
Soup.
Because let me just do this bit. I've been saying since 1999, before reform, even the Brexit party were unheard of, didn't exist. I've been saying since 1999 that we need to detain all new asylum seekers. That has not been adopted by any of the major parties. We will.
Can I get a call in? Howard in Lincolnshire, what do you think? A reform to be taken seriously?
Hi, Jeremy, and hi, panel, especially to Marina, who I think is on the nose with absolutely everything she has said. I do not think this party can be taken seriously. I think they are as far away from being taken seriously as possible.
Opposite. Hang on, Howard. She's just said she says you've got to take them seriously because they're dangerous.
Yeah, but because they are dangerous and they are a threat. Like I know Marina said about taking them seriously because they are a threat, but I think for that very reason, maybe to counteract that after all, but I don't think they can be taken seriously. Okay. I think Nigel Farage. I think Nigel Farage is someone who says one thing and goes by another. And I mean, to say the boat crossings can be sorted in 2 weeks, to me, he sounds as delusional as Trump saying he could sort Russia and Ukraine in a day.
Howard, thank you very much indeed. Stay with us, Anne. After the break, we will take more calls on whether reform can be taken seriously, or does their conference show that it's rather silly? Less than a quarter of Brits think they do a good job of running the country. 0207 862 2222. More calls. Let's just take some calls here, and we'll come back to you, Anne, in a second. Who's next on the phone? Let's have a look. Kath in West Yorkshire, hi.
Hi.
What do you want to say, Kath?
As far as reform being taken seriously, I think the people in this country are taking them very seriously. And I really do think that they've got a damn good chance of winning the next election.
All right. Well, Nigel Farage's tax affairs have been thrust into the spotlight in the past few days, and I should mention this. It was reported that a house in his Clacton constituency, which he said he'd purchased, was in fact in his partner's name. And the suggestion was that by doing this, Mr. Farage had legally avoided paying 44 grand in stamp duty, as the fact he owns a number of other properties means he would have been liable for a higher rate. And this is what happened when these claims were put to him by Sky News.
How dare you? It's her asset. No, how dare you? It's her business, her money, her asset.
Okay,
and you know what? Actually, given that it's in the constituency, for security reasons, it's better that way round.
Yes, but I'm just saying, you said I, and that wasn't
all right,
true.
All right, I should have said we. I should have said we. All right, it's her money, it's her asset. I own none of it.
Do you think it makes you look a bit dodgy, though?
No, you can try. You can try as hard as you like. You can try as hard as you like. It's nonsense.
He also ruled out releasing his tax returns, saying it would be an intrusion too far. That's amid reports that his media earnings go through a company which would allow him to potentially, and again legally, lower his tax bill compared to if he was paid like an employee. Oh dear, Anne, you're heading down the Angela Rayner alley here.
Well, no, as you heard him say very clearly and very concisely, I thought, it's her money and it's her investment and it's her business. And I think we really do have to stop this game, if you like, of personal destruction. Now, I mean, I think that what Angela did was wrong. But on the other hand, before that, there had been a massive attempt to suggest that she had done something wrong with her council tax, and that attempt came to nothing. And I think it's time we just concentrated on what people are going to do for the country, rather than trying to look for things that they haven't actually done wrong.
Well, let me ask Kwasi, this thing of forming a company and being paid through it, which can reduce your tax, is legal, but HMRC can get very uppity about it.
Well, it is legal because obviously the corporation tax rate is lower than the top rate of tax. And if he probably took tax advice, he's probably structured his affairs in this way. And as far as I'm concerned, if it's legal, then, you know, that's the end.
Well, HMRC have gone round just burning these companies because they don't like them at all.
Well, with Nigel's case, I'm sure they'll look at his company, and if there's a problem, they'll deal with that. But I think this idea that we're just going to go around on a kind of witch hunt on politicians for structuring their tax affairs in whatever way, you know, that are legal, I think is crazy.
At least we should have an honest word with ourselves about what Angela Rayner did. It was careless. It was very intricate, the setup with her trust and her disabled son. Right, but hang on.
Well, no,
versus. So that's careless, and she's paid the ultimate price. But then what Farage and these other, and Tyson, whoever, that's strategic avoidance.
No, but it's legal.
But what I'm saying is, but look at the punishment. Look at the punishment. But she's self-referred.
But they don't owe tax, do they?
They don't owe tax, no.
Okay, what I'm saying is, what she did was accidental, genuine, and yet what they do is strategic with intent.
The further thing I had with Angela was that when we were in government, there was nobody more angry, more hostile to people like Nadim Zahawi and others who fell foul of the tax system. And it was the hypocrisy. It was the hypocrisy of Angela Rayner that was really.
Let me get Anne back in. A part of this is, I guess, people are seeing Farage as potentially the next Prime Minister, Ann Widdecombe. This is what's happening here. And by the way, we still think you've got another cabinet job in you.
Well, let me say right away, no, I am not standing for Parliament again. I mean, spare me. I should be 78 in a couple of weeks' time, so the answer is no to that one. But do I think he's going to be Prime Minister? Yes. I think there's every chance of that. And I think reform will continue on its massive surge. I mean, you only have to look at where it's come from. I won't rehearse it all because you've heard it before. But that it's come from having, no branches to having over 400, that it's got 240,000 members, it's from no MPs to 5 MPs.
Very quickly, Marina. Quickly.
I just want to ask one quick question.
No, you can't. You've just 10 seconds we've got left.
I've just to say, Anne's got a crucifix round her neck and yet wants to deport asylum seekers. Just, if you know about the Bible readings, just see how you square that.
I don't think.
All right, and next time you're in, you can answer that. She's leaving us now. We have to go to our break. We'll take more calls on this after the break. Do you think reform can be taken seriously? But first, we will take a few more calls on whether reform can be taken seriously after their spectacle of a conference. 0207 862 2222. We're asking whether is it a cartoon? Is it a comic strip? Is it silly? Or is it deadly serious? Peter in Wolverhampton, what do you think? Hey, Peter.
Yeah, I'm from Suffolk.
So,
Hello.
Have you ever been in Wolverhampton? Oh, wait a minute, there's two. Peter from Wolverhampton.
Hi, mate, can you hear me?
Sorry, we had someone pretending to be Peter on the line there. It's terrible. What do you think is the answer to the question?
I think it's a battle between people of common sense and fruitcakes. Now, I think that Nigel has built up a reputation as a man of common sense over the last 30 years, which is very serious. But he's in danger of losing it to the fruitcakes.
Oh, you're talking about internally in the Reform Party. So what, the cardiologist guy, for example?
Yeah, and Anne.
Oh, but Anne, whenever Anne's on, we have people saying she should be Prime Minister.
Well, she's a fruitcake. I mean, there's something of the fruitcake about her, isn't there?
Well, what does that mean, though?
Well, it's just not being common sense. I mean, Nigel is a man of common sense. It's kind of golf club common sense, But
I'm going to unleash Marina on you for that.
Which bit of his common sense do you admire most, Peter from Wolverhampton?
Well, he was absolutely against the madness of Europe, and he's now against the madness of immigration, and that's common sense.
And do you think, you're glad that we Brexited? Do you think that's worked out, do you?
Yeah, absolutely, because Europe was a mad house.
Yeah, and how are we doing now? How are we faring? What do you love about Brexit
It's a
the
lot
most?
better without being in the madhouse, but common sense is a very important
but what are you
thing.
enjoying most about your new Brexit freedoms?
Being free.
And to do what that you couldn't do before?
But it is
not be in Europe.
But Marina, it is ironic that
Why is it you people can never explain anything
Kwasi is a Brexiteer. Kwasi is a Brexiteer.
So what Peter is referring to is, I think Europe is in a mess. Look at today, the French government, they're going to have their third or fourth Prime Minister in as many years.
Is that a reason to leave, though?
No, but when people say, oh, Europe is this wonderful thing that we should have stayed in forever.
No one's saying that, but we were better in it than outside of it.
That's complete nonsense.
Sorry, I'm sorry, we're having to plug the gaps now. Do you understand? Do you at least acknowledge, because you were also spearheading Brexit, do you not acknowledge the damage, the loss to the Treasury, the loss of tax receipts as a result of our leaving the EU?
What I do acknowledge is the fact that we managed to get a much better deal with Trump's America on the tariffs than the EU did.
Do you think we've lost, as a nation, have we lost any wealth because of Brexit?
I don't think we've lost.
You can't have a conversation with someone if they're going to say that.
No, I don't think we have. I mean, you look at Europe.
I never know.
But look at Europe. Are they growing? Are they forging ahead? Of course they're not.
Well,
of course they're not.
I tell you what, there's all kinds of factors. We had to help bail out Greece when we were.
Yeah, we did. It cost £9 billion.
I just don't know.
Kwasi Kwarteng, our divorce agreement alone was 38 billion.
That was 12.
38.
Yes.
For nothing, a divorce.
Okay.
Not even the
So
impact.
if we'd stayed in, we'd have been on the hook for all the other bailouts and all the.
Well, there haven't been any though. So,
no, there will be, and also the other fact is that they would. If we came back, we'd have to join the euro. Is that what you're up for?
No, well, we shouldn't have had to do that. Why did we leave in the first place? Another one of your legacies.
I think people want sovereignty and they wanted independence.
There we are. It never goes away. Thank you, Peter in Wolverhampton. Is the other Peter around? There was someone pretending to be Peter?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm so sorry, Peter in Suffolk. We got our wires crossed. What would you like to say, my friend?
Well, Farage's Brexit was a cause of boat people crossing, because before Brexit we didn't have this problem. We had the Dublin Agreement where we could return people there.
Do you take reform seriously, or are reforms silly or serious? That's our question.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, so you agree with Marina?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Jean in Ayrshire, hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
Silly or serious?
They can be taken seriously, that's what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they should be is another question.
I mean, their vote may go up in Scotland as well. I've just been looking at some of the numbers. It's amazing.
Yes, it's very likely.
Yeah, they might have Scottish MPs.
I'm 74 years old now, and for years I've watched all this process, and you get strong personalities popping up every so often, and they're full of good intentions, or not, as the case may be. But once they get into government, that tends to be watered down. And I think the civil service runs the country, not the politicians.
We'll see. Thank you, Jean, very much. Thanks for all your calls on that. We thought we'd extend that chat a bit. But